You know, if there's any kind of headline I genuinely wasn't expecting to read this year, it's that among everything else going on in 2020, a return of Sharkboy and Lavagirl is a thing that's actually happening. I always figured a film like this would be long buried in the past for its terrible reception and left to the ironic gold mines next to the likes of The Adventures of Food Boy or something. But no! Apparently a 19% is an acceptable level to revive a universe into a whole new Netflix show. Now, ironically enough, I've already created a terrible video covering Spy Kids 3D waiting in the backlog, and though this is technically a coming back video, I mean, just look at this. There's so much green screen in every single frame that of course I'm gonna plant myself throughout the whole production. So the way we'll cover this video is by going through this film piece by piece, connecting us to all of the new news for the return of Taylor and Taylor, possibly, and see where things can take us from there. As I can probably assume, you haven't really watched this film very recently. And if you have, why? So the film is yet another childhood masterpiece from the likes of Robert Rodriguez, creator of the beloved Spy Kids franchise, as well as Alita Battle Angel when the tech got a little bit better. But back in the day of 2005, we're left to deal with this instead. I still can't believe this is actually getting a standalone sequel film 16 years later. So the film starts off by answering the very first question that comes to mind: how did Sharkboy and Lavagirl happen? Well, it turns out Sharkboy was once just an ordinary boy who just really liked sharks. And then when he was lost by his dad and adopted by them, he just grew shark stuff. That's how biology works. Also, in this universe, sharks are intelligent beings who can speak and raise a child, apparently. Sharkboy then grew into that kid from Twilight who, by the way, was only 3 years younger than his Twilight counterpart. Literally, 2005 versus 2008. Maybe I don't understand biology as well as I thought. So yeah, Sharkboy just appears in our real protagonist's life, Max's, and after a bit of time to get to know each other, Lavagirl then just appears and runs away with Sharkboy, and that's the backstory. In reality, this is all just a tale being told by Max, though the class doesn't believe it to be real, and you can tell this is a bad class because everyone and their mother just throws paper at Max for it. But hey, at least it kept a little bit of realism with the teacher doing the bare minimum of assistance in the moment. Now, our most notable douche kid is this guy right here, Linus, who simultaneously is the biggest bully of the pack and is really lame. I mean, the best parody tale he can think of is
Dork Boy.
And when confronting Max later, he's offended by
your skills are weak.
I'm sorry, are we like in a Pokemon battle or something here? Who speaks like this? So anyway, Max's prized possession is his dream journal, and Linus chases him for it. Honestly, this moment of him actually losing the journal somehow actually hit me when I watched this. This film is so strangely slapped together, but the stomach-dropping moment of actually having the bullies win and take something of yours is something I re-felt in my gut when this happened. Thanks, movie. I guess good job. Now, I don't know if the next upcoming Netflix film will perfect the actual tone they're going for throughout, but it is confirmed to be Robert Rodriguez himself returning, intending to hit that same Spy Kidsy feel in order to make kids binge repeat it on stream, something not really possible in the cinemas. That's literally the tactic behind this. So with Max in a sorry state, Sharkboy and Lavagirl tease their return, though why tease it at all? In the wait, we learn more of Max's parents, disagreeing over dreams and reality, and splitting up as a result. As an adult, I can kinda side with the mum's argument that being a writer does need a real job on the side to pay the bills, but I guess it is a different financial time, sort of. And on the other hand, the idea that
kids need to grow up
is just toxic. But I would say that, wouldn't I? So Max has to go to school the next day despite really not wanting to, so he's morbid all day. And it doesn't help that his mum then drops that she's incompatible with his dad and wants to talk to him more after school. Just some class parenting there. Anyway, the actual class is secretly inspired by Max, and you know what? This whole sequence sounds like sequel bait to me.
Piranha Girl and Beluga Boy.
Now grown up to be Ocean Man.
Plastic Boy and Metal Girl.
Alright, getting environmental.
Barf Boy and Vomit Girl.
And okay, what a pairing. The reason I bring this up more is that this new Netflix film won't actually be centralized on Sharkboy and Lavagirl. More accurately, it's about their daughter, who is confirmed to have both shark and lava powers, and she's alongside other kids who have to save their kidnapped parents. So though this started off as a joke, maybe there genuinely is some vomiting, barfy kid in the new film. It's where I'd take the first step of inspiration for the sequel anyway. So Max comes to learn that his journal has been destroyed and he freaks out, leading to probably the best line in the entire movie.
I did not! Mr. Electric, send him to the principal's office and have him expelled!
Oh, and I mean, I usually try not to dig at child actors because they're just kids, you know? I never mentioned the Breslin Spencer Award when Breslin Spencer appeared in Cat in the Hat, but here, I mean, this is some of the worst projecting I've ever heard. And I'm mentioning it now because you're gonna hear it a whole lot more. So a tornado comes in to add to the conflict and somehow the class is underprepared for it. Some real safety measures going on here. And through the window fly Sharkboy and Lavagirl, and as they tell Max that they need him, even the teacher supports it. That just feels weird. But okay, we're seeing a little more of their powers. Cool. Can't wait to see how they use those later on in the film. And here's something new, a shark rocket. This only appears once. And only Max can pilot it, because he dreamt it, apparently. Though he only thought of a go and an autopilot button, so I doubt it's really that hard. One unconvincing high-speed scene later, and we crash on planet Drool. Ugh, those water physics are certainly not in their prime. So Max here supposedly has powers, but he can't remember his dreams, so he can't do much, as this place is where all his dreams come to be, which honestly isn't the worst concept in the world. In fact, it even plays on the train of thought, the stream of consciousness, and all that jazz. Eat your heart out, Inside Out. So the kids want to head to the dream lair, where Max's dreams are supposedly going bad, starting off at the Eternal Amusement Park, fueling big baddie Mr. Electric, apparently. Sharkboy strikes a pose for no real reason, they hijack a roller coaster, and logic naturally just goes out the window, because lava somehow follows the coaster rather than on the rails it's actually on, and hanging upside down is just a thing that the two can do, I guess. So with the trio now on track, they're sent to Mr. Electric himself, but not before the quickest volcano exposition ever. And I mean, what a design this guy has. It makes me want to do something like that. Ha ha ha! I'm a weird fishbowl guy. This is just everything I needed. Also, use this opportunity to go subscribe to my channel. You can help unbalance my sub ratio count. Also, I have a Discord channel now. I'm trying to build a community. I've got different suggestions and tags and channels you can join. You should join it. It's a weird place to start up this whole thing, but this doesn't make sense. It's a thought. If you want to, help me produce things in the future and want to join part of a fan base crew thing, it's an option for you. This is a weird place to announce it, but So yeah, obviously they fight, but it immediately just threw me through a loop, because the first move literally has Sharkboy just leaping like 3 floors into the air. I don't really see the shark part of his fighting style, but he sure knows how to flip. Meanwhile, Lavagirl over here has Azula levels of flying powers apparently, and Max is just running away from a plug that's really pushing those 3D gimmicks. Because of course, yes, this is another one of those films that was pushing for that 3D glasses thing. Trust me, it's better in 2D. So it all ends with Shark and Lava relying on Max to use his powers, but he doesn't remember them. You know, we already kind of explained all of this. And so they're all captured and dropped into the Dream Graveyard, featuring more pointless 3D. They briefly talk about how over time dreams will fade and that they will too, but this never comes back. Again, like, what is with all these introducing elements and conflicts and just forgetting about it? Ooh, you can feel that pre-Twilight angst just coming in. So back to Electric, and his higher up appears in a mystical glow, though you can recognize that strange projection anywhere. So now that they're dumped in the graveyard, they try to activate Max's dreams by making him sleep, but it doesn't really go well. And also there's a lot of just minor fluff of stuff going on here. It's content, I guess. But eventually they discover the remains of Tobor, an old imaginary friend of Max's, and it's just robot backwards. And he's a giver of infinite knowledge. What easy writing. They ask how to progress, and he suggests going to the land of milk and cookies. Not quite an Inside Out island anymore. And how to get there? Well, obviously with floating eyes and a mouth, of course. Totally not the writers getting themselves into a location corner. Anyway, now they're following the train of thought, literally. Learning that some dreams are so powerful that they end up becoming real, and once they get on track, Tobor randomly just leaves. Again, another writer's corners like that age-old Lord of the Rings argument, I guess.
What do we do? Yell. Scream.
I guess of all the lines, this one is probably the most timeless, so applicable. But no, as the train goes haywire, Lavagirl just suggests randomly jumping out, and luckily enough, they are now at the land of milk and cookies. This is a lot of convenience and just going with it, isn't it? So now there's 20 minutes of time left on the clock, cause you gotta have a deadline, and attempt number 2 of sleeping also goes wrong, as now cookie giants have appeared because apparently they just have to exist if a giant cookie exists. But hey, at least it's resourceful with the cast. I guess I can appreciate that. But there's a lot of spitting in this film. Now, finally, with some space, Max needs a song to fall asleep to, and Sharkboy certainly delivers.
Dream, 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 dream.
You know, it's confirmed that Lavagirl is reappearing, but Sharkboy isn't guaranteed just yet, especially in a speaking role. So while Robert Pattinson is embarrassed by Twilight, I can imagine Taylor Lautner is embarrassed by this. And I can kinda understand why. Also, I know it doesn't feel it, but this is just over the halfway mark of the film. The cons of a slow startup, I guess. Or a really rushed film. Anyway, even here, things are bad, as Max ends up having a new nightmare anyway. And Lavagirl worries that it might be her, as she's unsure of her origin and her powers are all about destruction. But before we can resolve that, Mr. Electric has returned, and now with plug hounds. Though Max did manage to dream up a shark hoverbike in the moment, just with no gas. Convenient. So a fight with the plug hounds it is. Once again, Sharkboy shows off that one flip that he can do again and again, and Lavagirl for some reason is getting weaker, only to then melt into lava itself to escape capture. Ugh. So in the heat of things, Max tries to dream something and does. A boat. He's starting to daydream. And the ability to dream with your eyes open allows for many great things in the world, I guess. I like how you can see all the studio lighting in the cherry. So at this point, to move the story onwards, Max tells of something he did see in his dream, a crystal heart, belonging to the Ice Princess. So they head there next, though Lavagirl isn't too hyped on the whole idea. You know, fire and ice and all that. What follows next is a kinda cliche bridge moment, with Lavagirl being too hot to traverse it, so she tries sleepwalking instead. And then it actually works for a bit.
Lavagirl, they're behind you!
I don't know why I love this shot of them screaming. It's just so stupid. I could play this on repeat and just be satisfied with life. Anyway, it turns out to be a trap as Mr. Electric comes to capture them and takes them to the dream lair where they were kinda heading anyway before the crystal heart. Regardless, it's time for the reveal of the true villain. It's Linus. Actually, Minus in this world, who's been changing Max's dream journal and affecting the world here. And though every take with this guy seems unpolished, this one flying shot of Minus is actually pretty nicely done. So the crew are dropped and caged, and how do they escape? By having random annoying bubbles appear to put Sharkboy in a shark frenzy. Probably one of the weakest Deus Ex Machinas I've ever seen. So they retrieve the dream journal and discover secrets like Sharkboy's father being in a submarine, Lavagirl having a bike, and that's it, as it just gets burnt up. You can't have all the knowledge too quickly, I guess. Lavagirl has a breakdown over her destructive nature again, and eventually they conclude that the crystal heart is still real, as everything else Max dreams has been real so far. So here they are now, suddenly. Forget about the broken bridge or, you know, the lack of a teleporting ability. They're here. With a trial to collect it up on an ice block. Sharkboy gets stuck, Max drops it, and Lavagirl freezes upon catching it. And then the Ice Princess appears. It's the girl from the classroom who we barely briefly established in the prologue. You know, resourceful casts, sure, whatever. She has the standard cliche conflict of the needed thing being integral to her kingdom, but is just happy to give it away anyway. But the trial she sets up to get it, I actually kinda like. Being pitted to find the real gem in the room, but Max then susses it out immediately as the one around her neck. They really didn't waste time for that reveal. There's no puzzling or whatever, so, oh well. And then off they go. Alright then, I guess this could be a hint to another superpowered character of Ice, but in the new film, there's said to be 11 superheroes, and it's described as being like an Avengers team, but they all have kids. And the kids have powers, but they don't know how to use them because they're so young at the moment. Our main character, for example, has to figure out how to merge the opposing powers she got from her parents. The more you know. With literally no time left, they ride Lavagirl's frozen corpse to the destination, and then fail, with Lavagirl awakening and arguing that the crystal heart doesn't work for anyone other than the princess, even though the Ice Princess just established that she would grant Max the same powers. or at least I thought she did. And then Sharkboy is just randomly baited to Mr. Electric and overwhelmed. It's that kind of end of film conflict going on, I guess. Because Lavagirl goes to save him too, out of her element. And now with both seemingly dead, how does one possibly move the story forwards? Oh, well, of course, Tobor just comes in randomly, telling him to dream a better dream. And Max states that selfish dreams just shouldn't come true. He's only ever dreamt for himself. And I guess that conversation sparks life into Sharkboy again? And then Tobor's gone again. Because of course he is. What a train wreck of a story trying to piece itself together. With the volcano as their only hope to revive Lavagirl, Sharkboy now sprints across the land, because that's a thing he's been able to do this whole time apparently, and just yeets her down the middle with like 100 miles an hour running speed. There's just, there's no hesitation, and why did they do this from the beginning? Why would they? Meanwhile, the whole time, Max is monologuing about who Lavagirl really is. She's not flame or fire, but light instead. The fight against the darkness. Also, I guess the giver of powers now, because Max now has all of his powers. And that includes super speed, apparently, as well as every other godly ability. And just like that, it's time for the final battle. And I mean, this editing as well is just ridiculous looking. Look at how he confronts Minus.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
This is a real power fantasy going on now. But anyway, this battle is weird. I mean, piranhas versus bubbles? Butterflies versus mosquitoes? Am I supposed to read a metaphor into femininity and toxic masculinity somewhere in here? Is this an LGBT metaphor? Brainstorm versus brain freeze versus brain fart, which equals big head mode? I don't think I've got the forehead to understand what's going on in this game. They're playing a whole 5D chess over here. At least with Sharkboy versus Electric, things make more sense. It's a shark army and breaking a single layer of ice, and that's the end of him. Kinda quick, but you know, whatever. And as is classic for these kind of kids films, Max offers a helping hand to Minus instead, claiming that his dreams must have been crushed to be this destructive. And so it's accepted. All the while Sharkboy and Lavagirl are all happy smiles.
Ouch.
Though if just that burns, then you know what? I'm not gonna go there. But the film's not over yet. There's always some extra act at the end of these terrible things, isn't there? Now Mr. Electric plans to go to Earth to destroy Max in his sleep. Worried he's just sleeping right now, the others tell him that he can make the dream real, and he just needs to blink 3 times, because this is the Wizard of Oz now, suddenly. And boom! Here he is, back in the classroom, tornadoes swinging overhead. I guess this is more Wizard of Ozzy than I thought. Linus is apparently sleeping through the storm, and everyone witnesses the arrival of Mr. Electric. I actually really like the teacher's reaction here.
He dreamt me as a big brown bad guy. I'm not bad.
Meanwhile, the parents are now getting out to save Max as well. And man, does the dad really look like Aaron Paul in disguise. Anyway, they're both sucked up by the storm and saved by Sharkboy and Lavagirl, realizing they don't actually want to leave each other. Back at the classroom, suddenly Linus is less of a bad guy, I guess, because dreams became a reality, but I think it's more of a convenient plot hole than anything else. And Max reveals the crystal heart in reality and sends the girl off to freeze Mr. Electric as the Ice Princess. And it works, apparently, shattering him into snow and giving us our happy ending. The teacher says he learned a lot, the storm is gone, the kids can play in the snow, and the parents are back holding hands. Though logically, they still gotta compromise to pay the bills. And as a final thing, Max has a new report, talking about how if you make your dreams a reality, your reality becomes a dream, which is a genuinely 5-head statement that I really like as the moral of this story. Also, Linus dreams of Mr. Positive. Maybe it's another future character, I don't know. Sharkboy, meanwhile, is hunting for his dad. Lavagirl is the queen of her kingdom, and the two can live happily ever after. Though touching still burns, so how did they And Max finished Torbot. The end. Forget the Weinstein bit. The final pieces of information we really have on this Netflix show is it's titled We Can Be Heroes, as well as a couple extra cast members including Pedro Pascal, who's probably most known for Game of Thrones, Kingsman, and I guess The Mandalorian, as well as a few others on the side. Likely more powered parents put into the mix. The main cast is probably just normal kids, you know, that we've never seen before. Beyond that, who knows where things are gonna go from here. It's clearly set up to reap the benefits of children constantly repeating a film, but with a foundation as lowbrow as this, I guess things can only go up. The technology's certainly better, and the concept is genuinely cool in some places, but who knows how far it'll push into more Dream Talk. Maybe it's just a kid's superhero show. Whatever the case, I'm loving the cringe we've had so far. The story is so crappily slapped together, and now, when am I getting a sequel to Toast Boy? That's what I'm waiting for. My name's been Dazz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit. Well, that was certainly something. I keep doing these outros really long for this video, and I'm going to try and make this super brief. If you want to make some suggestions, you can comment them down below, but more effectively, go check out the Discord channel. It's some ways I'm trying to make the community more interactive so that I can feel more connected with you, and we can maybe make some better stuff in the future. Yeah, that's short enough. What do we do now?
Yell. Scream.